Good morning. Welcome back. I'm Whitney Ellison with Wellison Enterprises, and this is another episode of the Enneagram Moms interviews. And as we know, the Enneagram is a wonderful tool for developing self-awareness and empathy. And the mission of this tool is to amplify moms' voices by telling our stories, honoring our differences, and offering useful tips from their specific Enneagram strengths that will help all moms and all parents in general. And today we have a really awesome sponsor. If you've noticed my branding, the Wellison Enterprises and the Enneagram Mom Interviews branding, you've noticed the beautiful teal and the design and the font. And that is a design done by Kelly Baldessari Media, who is sponsoring today's episode. And she is a graphic designer, a photographer, and a videographer. And her mission is to assist your brand and expand its power platform wide. So, at the end of this episode, if you comment and share this episode, you have entered to win a free logo. So if you're starting your own business or even thinking about starting your own business, this is a great opportunity to get a new logo for free from an extremely talented designer. That's Kelly Baldessari Media. Thank you for sponsoring this episode. And today we have an amazing guest. Her name is Lauren Hurt Ashwin. She is out of Irving, Texas. She's an Enneagram 7 with both wings, and she's the mom of an 18-month-old during a pandemic. So let's bring her on, and we will learn more about Lauren. Good morning.
Hi.
How are you?
Good morning. I'm great. Thanks. How are you?
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
I'm doing fine. Is your reception okay? Oh, absolutely. It's great to have you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right. If it gets a little weird, just let me know. I'll just take a walk in my house and we'll go upstairs next to my server.
Okay, perfect.
So, awesome. Well, let's, first of all, this is my first time meeting you live, so it's really nice to meet you. And I know we have a wonderful mutual friend that introduced us, and I'm so glad she did. I'd love for you to tell me about yourself, who you are, what you're up to these days.
Yeah, so thanks for having me, and shout out to Carissa for introducing us. But I'm Lauren, and I work for a company called Engage to Learn, and we're in the education field, and I support instructional coaches and teachers and campus leaders. And so I'm a coach of coaches per se, and I feel like the coach role is something that a 7 dearly loves.
Yes.
I have a 19-month-old daughter who is so much fun. Her name is Delta, and we have been loving the quarantine of the pandemic because we got to spend lots of time at home. I already worked from home a lot anyway, so it was a very easy transition for us. And my husband and I have just been, he works from home as well. He's from England and works for a company that's in England, so he's always home too. So we've really enjoyed getting to spend more time together as a part of the pandemic. Because, silver lining always, I feel like, is something that we look for. But just lots of new hobbies, and I'm trying to think of all the 7-ish things that I've been up to lately.
Hobbies is a 7 buzzword. Yes. So
Yeah.
first, let me say that yes, as someone that also has a baby, it's a double-edged sword when you're trying to get work done, right? But also, like, the flip side of that is, in our country, we get a very small amount of maternity leave. So when you have a baby right now during the pandemic and we're all forced to be at home and to be still, we actually get that gift of time at these developmental months with our babies that typically aren't aren't common to get in this country as women and mothers, which by the way is not okay, but that's a topic for another day. So having the gift of time with our babies is really special and is a silver lining of the pandemic. If we're fortunate enough to have jobs and space where we can be home with the kids and work that out. So I totally agree.
Yes.
So tell me about some of these new hobbies that you're developing right now.
Well, I've recently taken up roller skating and I'm having a lot of fun with that. Trying to learn some tricks
Yes.
and start a roller gang in the neighborhood. I feel like we've always had a hobby of traveling just because we go and see Nick's family a lot, which is amazing. But I just feel like with the pandemic, I've, felt like the tension of not, really doing and getting out much. I feel like I have vacations planned, like at least 3 in the next 8 months. And it's like, I'm pretty sure that country doesn't even let Americans in. And I'm like, you know what? But I'm an idealist and I'm good faith.
That's right.
We're going to have this
Hold
under
the vision.
control. Yeah, they're going to open up. So let's just go ahead and just book this. It's going to happen.
Tickets are cheap.
Yeah, they're offering free changes so we can be flexible. And he's just like, okay. So I like
well, that's great though.
Yeah, definitely like to try and have some things to look forward to and build in those fun activities, throughout, whether it's weekly, monthly, or even thinking a year ahead, just trying to always find joy and have something to look forward to.
Well, and roller skating, could we get any more 7 than roller skating? That is just fantastic. Just to get that inner child out and have some fun. I love it.
Yes, totally. And just, I feel like, obviously just a little bit impulsive, but I'll see something and be like, oh, yes, I'm all in, and totally jump into something. And then as soon as it's I don't know, I think I'm going to break my arm. It's back up a little bit, get a little more strategic about this. So.
That's so funny. I think I would be I can't, the next day, I can't move. I just exercised muscles I didn't even know I had. But all right, so do you feel and I know we've kind of touched on this, I want to go back to your work as well, but do you feel like these activities speak to your Enneagram archetype?
Yeah, yes, definitely. And when you finally really nail down what your Enneagram type is, then it's okay, it's all making sense now. But just whether it's the work that I do or my day-to-day lifestyle, parenting style, all the above just fits in really well with the 7. And my subtype is the self-preservation 7. So
okay,
I love being at home and I love having close circles of friends. That's friends, relationships is my number one priority a lot of times, just to, stay close with people. And so I definitely think it all really fits in as a 7 for sure, that archetype.
That's great. And so I hear a puppy in the background. What kind of dog do you have?
We have a big giant Weimaraner named Goose and a German Shepherd pointer named Ruby. So they're a lot of
some hunting dogs. Yes, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's talk about your work for a minute because I find this really interesting. So you are a coach for the coaches, as you said. Coaching is definitely a really solid career choice for a 7. So we've got, you're working with people in the education system. This has to be one of the most difficult times for people that work for the education system in their entire careers. Maybe it may end up being the most difficult time in their careers. Everything is shifting. There's a lot of virtual activity going on. Parents are extremely concerned. Teachers are worn out. They're putting themselves at risk if they're teaching live in classes. They're having to balance between whatever the state's mandating and whatever the parents' needs are, and they have to protect their own needs. I really deeply feel for teachers right now. I'd love for you to talk about your occupation, your 7-ness, and as it relates to helping these professionals through this season of life and their careers.
Yeah,
And I know I
so
just sprung that question on you, so I'm sorry
no,
for that. But
okay,
this really interests me.
yeah, so yeah, crazy context. And, we're really mission driven in supporting public schools and making sure that they're the first choice for,
Mm-hmm.
every family. And, it's been pretty crazy. And everyone is feeling it. I think everyone at every level of the system, whether you're a student, teacher, principal, superintendent,
Mm-hmm.
working for the state, like whatever you do, everyone feels very out of control of the situation. So I love being a coach because, one of my strengths, I sometimes think, probably not always, but is trying to help make sure any conversation I have with a coachee is relevant and is there, is going
Mm-hmm.
to meet their immediate needs, whatever those needs might be specifically. Because and there is a lot of like support sounds different right now, versus what
Mm-hmm.
it, what might it sounded like this time last year.
Sure.
People are working hard. So I think, we just have to continually, offer grace and support
Mm-hmm.
to those, especially in education. And yeah, I think as a coach and a 7, always having that silver lining is such a blessing for me. I think for other people,
Mm-hmm.
they're like, can you please shut up? Like, because this actually is a really huge opportunity for us to rethink um, and rearrange how we've always done school. We're kind of being forced to
Sure.
think about it differently. And I think some of the things that and tips and ways people are trying some new things out right now are going to carry over back into the classroom and back out of the classroom as we go back and forth. And I see
Mm-hmm.
so much opportunity, and I'm really hopeful for what that's going to look like in the future. But yeah, it's really tough right now. So I just encourage anyone out there who's in education right now, like we are all, it is like unheard of times. And so don't give up. It's going to be okay. Hang in there. It's going to get better. I know it feels so different this year, but just everyone have to give ourselves grace and know that it's not always going to be like this, and
Yes.
it'll probably never look like it did before, but maybe that's a good thing. So it's an opportunity. So
I love that. And, to speak to that a little more is like, the necessity is the mother of invention. We are going through a huge shift right now. And I think, we are seeing gaps that have been created by our societal norms across the board, where there's opportunity to be better. And to your point, I think my hope is that when we are allowed to re-immerse into society, and I won't use the term go back to normal, because let's not. Let's go back to let's go forward. How about, let's progress to something better. That what happens is we discover new ways and methods that really enhance the way that we do things and make them better for teachers, for students, across the board. And generally speaking, in our society, there's always going to be work to be done, but let this not be in vain, right? Let's
mm-hmm.
make sure that good
Mm-hmm.
things come out of this.
Yeah.
So that's really great, and that speaks to your 7 motivation, and that helps transition into the next question, which is your type's motivation, which is for satisfaction. And these are typically developed during childhood. And to the extent that you're comfortable, I would love for you to share a little bit about your childhood and what event or what surrounding circumstances helped you develop this core motivation.
So I would say had a pretty normal childhood, but I remember as a young child always being extremely fearful of things that I couldn't control, and having just a lot of fear around, like, every night thinking like, okay, please don't let my house burn down. Please don't let a tornado come hit us. Please don't let the super volcano erupt. Like, please don't let me get into a car accident, or my, family, like just all this fear. And like, I would have this long list of things I would have to go through and like pray about and almost like ritualistically, ask for protection around, to feel like I had some kind of control over things that I couldn't control. And so then it got to the point where I couldn't watch movies or like TV shows or the news or anything, because it would start to add things to my fear list of, and I'd have new ideas about things I couldn't control. So I think from a young age, I started to already try and avoid emotional and physical pain. I can just see that all over my childhood. Even though I had a good childhood, it was just, that was definitely a core motivation. And then it moved into, I think when I was like middle school, high school, disliking school because it was just not how I wanted to spend my time, just didn't feel relevant. But that was the price of admission to see my friends every day. I loved my friends, and I have a great core group of friends, that we met in elementary school, and we still see each other weekly, so we, being able to see them in a 5-minute passing period was worth the, 45 minutes I had to sit through that class. So it was just always like, I go to school because I get to do fun things because of it. And then like same, through college, and it was always kind of the cost of admission. So I kind of see, from that, seeking that joy there and that satisfaction early on, even just through like social groups. And then I feel like that as I've gotten older and you have more control, it's like joy, 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 joy. Where can I find joy? Always. So like the older I've gotten, like like once you have your own home and your own salary and your own life, it's like I'm in control, and I can find joy. I can do whatever I want and find joy all the time. So that's kind of, I guess that's kind of led me into being a 7.
That's great. So there were a few things that I heard you say that I think are very Hallmark 7 things that I'd love to touch on a little further. So first of all, you talked about fear early on. Of course, the 7 is the head triad. So it's the head center of intelligence, which means that you process a lot. You process your actions through thinking before doing or acting. And so the head triad, the fundamental driver of that is fear. So it's interesting to me that you called out fear immediately as what drove you to be a 7. And of course, 7s internalize fear. They don't externalize it, and they manage it by doing things that provide them satisfaction. And so I think that that's a great call out and something that really speaks to your type. The second thing is you're the second 7 of 3 that I have this week, by the way, that has said that she disliked school. So I find that interesting as well, because another hallmark signature of 7s is the fact that they don't like parameters or boundaries. So having that, and I shouldn't say they don't like boundaries, they don't like parameters around their ability to live. And so, so school definitely is a regimented set of parameters, right? Or at least it was until the pandemic. So, so it's interesting to me that you didn't like school, but as you said, it was the cost of admission to do things that you did like. So you were able to cope with it by finding that silver lining and seeing your friends and doing activities that made you happy. So those are all really great call outs that speak to your type. So did you have anything to add to that? You look like you're getting ready to say something.
Mm-mm.
Okay. And so what I'd like to talk about next then is the present tense. How has the Enneagram helped you in motherhood?
So, like, I feel bad for anyone who's a mom that's not a 7, only because I feel like, and especially self-preservation type 7s, I recently learned, because I was kind of digging in, because, it's like to really look into this a little deeper. So, but, and this tracks fully, but I feel like 7s don't feel as guilty about self-care and don't feel as pressured to follow norms and like the
Mm-hmm.
boundaries set around what motherhood should look like and what your kids should be doing and like what your home should look like. Like none of that weighs on me ever. And knowing all my friends are twos. Maybe you can help me diagnose why that's the case. You know, like my husband, my mom, all of my best friends, everyone is a two. So, you know, seeing what their mental processing and their, you know, what impacts them is just so different. So I think just even knowing that and us being reflective and we talk about it all the time. So I would say that was helpful, kind of making that connection.
Mm-hmm.
And then, not that, you know, like I'm a good mom, but like you're just able to, I think, make sure you're doing well. Otherwise, you know, the family's not going to be doing well. And
That's great. Yes.
I'm definitely much better than that, I feel like, than other Enneagram types who maybe feel that weight and just want to take care of everyone and are challenged at like knowing what they want and need and putting
Mm-hmm.
themselves first. And I want differently, you know, for everyone. So does that answer your question on terms of like
Yes.
how is it
Yes.
helping?
And what I would love to do is, can you share what it's like to be a self-pres 7? So you had mentioned earlier, you know, you love to be at home, but just dive deeper into that and explain how that works for you.
Yeah. So I think the self-preservation 7 loves to have a close group of friends and family and people that they connect with often that contributes to like their joy and safety. And there's always, my relationship with food is just such a love of like preparing meals and pairing a drink with every meal and just all this joy and anticipation around food and cooking and having that be one of, you know, a favorite activity. And also just loving your house, being home, spending money on your home or like on little projects or, you know, things here and there just bring so much joy to me. And I have other 7 friends who really like to go out all the time and be out,
Mm-hmm.
and they're a different subtype of 7. And I you know, I love, you know, going on a vacation or something, but I would prefer to always like have friends over or, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I can, I like home as like that place to find safety, you know, and comfort and really
Yes.
be able to relax. So
That's great. And then the other piece would be, if you could touch a little bit on having 2 wings, you know, and talking about, you know, when you utilize your 8 wing and when you utilize your 6 wing. Love to hear more about that.
So, and I always like joke that the worst parts of me come from those wings. So I don't know if I'm ever utilizing them well, but I would say like some of the paranoia that 6s have in the worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
I go there often sometimes. And that comes back to some of the fear.
Yep.
And then for 8, like the like extreme competitiveness. I always joke with my friends, like cannot play games, but like I'm not joking. Like my family will not even play games with me because I'm way too competitive. I can't even like watch football anymore because I feel myself getting so sucked in, and it's like my emotions are going up and down, and I'm like, this isn't worth it to feel this way about
Who's
something.
your team?
Well, Dallas Cowboys and Oklahoma State Cowboys
Okay.
they're both Cowboy
Got it.
teams. And
Well,
it's
I was gonna poke you a minute if it was Texas, because you know I'm a Sooner and we just beat them barely last weekend. But I don't mind Oklahoma State. That's all right. That's all right. I'll do Oklahoma State.
I started at OU and I transferred to
Okay.
Oklahoma State. So obviously I'm not loyal. And I loved OU. Like, I was like,
You didn't transfer to Texas. It's okay.
no. But yeah,
And
so
are
like
you from Oklahoma?
nope, no, I'm from the
Okay.
Dallas area. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Um,
Gotcha.
so anyway,
So
yeah,
yes.
too much competition, and it's like you're too emotionally invested, and you feel out of control, and it's just like And the Cowboys are two heartbreak teams. So I was just finally have been like, I don't think I can watch this anymore. It's just too, like, let me avoid emotional pain at all costs.
That's
So,
so funny. And then let's see, you go to one in stress, right? So what does that look like for you?
oh, so I start trying to seek control where I can, and things start getting really organized. I'm on top of everything. I'm basically like the best employee ever, the best wife ever. Like everything's getting done, and like everything's finding a place, and it's in its place. And my husband can tell, like he'll like the more often that things are like where they should be, like the more stressed I probably am, even though I'm not expressing how stressed
That is so
I might
funny.
be. So
That is so funny. Well, okay. So, what parenting secrets, tips, or tricks would you like to offer that speak to your Enneagram strengths that you think could help other parents? And I will preface that with you've already said a few really great things about self-care, but I'd love to hear more about your advice.
yeah, sure. Well, one thing I will say is just like always think critically about what you're supposed to do and like why that is, and like give yourself permission to push back on something just because it's a norm. Like, you know,
Hmm.
uh, I think that was really huge in having a baby, and feeling really comfortable and confident with being like, I don't know, that doesn't sound right. Like, let me look into that more. Like, oh, that's just an old wives' tale. That's not even a real thing. Like, I'm not gonna do that.
Yes,
So, but
that sounds a little eight wingish too.
mhm,
I hear some
mhm,
eight wing in there for sure too. Don't you
mhm,
tell me what to do.
mhm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, very interesting relationships with authority. Definitely,
Yes,
especially with
yes.
the self-preservation 7, which I'm kind of like digging in deep to that right now. But I would say also find what brings you joy, and then try and build your day around those sparks of joy. So like, for me, I like to get some flowers from Trader Joe's each week, and I like to make my bed, like really make it,
Yes.
because we're at home and I'm walking through the bedroom all the time and
Hmm.
so, and every time I do, it's like, ooh, look how God looks so good, like a spark of joy. So like
Yeah.
having like at least one meal out of the day that's like really good and exciting that I am looking forward to. And so, like a special plant, or just something that like little things that you are kind of building in, like a small break where you go outside in the sunshine, and things that like little bits of joy that end up adding up to your overall happiness. So when you reflect back, like, am I a happy person? Like when you're feeling those little sparks of joy all the time, you're like, yes, I'm a happy person. I feel really
Yep.
happy. And I think if those aren't throughout your day, then you're not getting it throughout your week. Then you're not like having it consistently through your month. And then you're looking back like, why do I not feel happy? So I try and really be intentional about setting up opportunities that are just built in, that I don't have to think about, as that are
Hmm.
just a part of the habit, that end up bringing me like, oh my God, my shampoo right now. Wash my hair like every
Yes.
3 or 4 days. I'm obsessed with my shampoo. And every
What
time
is
I
it?
like,
Plug
it's
it. What is it?
it's Kevin Murphy, my best friend Leslie. She's a hairstylist. She owns a salon
Uh-huh.
in Houston, and she gifted it to me last time I saw her. And like every time I put it in my hair, I'm just like, there's so much joy. It smells so
That's
good.
awesome. I love it. So
So
yes,
anyway,
to a good shampoo. And also with the bed making, I want to follow up on that. So what I love about making my bed, and this may be a motivation thing between the two of us, like I'm an 8, right? And so is not necessarily how it looks as I walk by it, but how it feels when I get into it at night. My husband and I joke about how when the bed's not made, it's like laying on top of wads and ropes. So when you make the bed, it's like opening up a gift to yourself at the end of the day that you can get into and just relax. And so, yes, I love that piece. And I also think that, to your point, um, if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy, right? So it is really important that we do things to acknowledge ourselves and our joy and our happiness, because one, we matter, and two, it's important to set that precedent for our kids. Like you treat yourself well, because you have a lot more to offer the world when you're in a good space. And I think that that's really sound advice from an Enneagram 7. I totally appreciate your sharing that.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, what's life like as an 8? I feel like
You
I
know,
feel like you need to interview yourself.
yeah, being an 8, well, I have both wings as well.
Hmm.
And I've done a lot of work on this. And as a female 8, we are one of the most under, what's the word I'm thinking of? Misunderstood um, individuals on the Enneagram, because we are an aggressive personality. But I've done a lot of work on that self-awareness to be mindful without losing myself. And I'm a pretty happy person. I get in my spaces, but I'm really good at getting myself out of those spaces. And to your point, my philosophy, and I've worked hard to develop this, is do what makes you feel alive, right? Because our only purpose on this planet is to experience life. And that's our choice. We can either sleepwalk through it or we can make the choice to experience it. And the more we make choices to experience life, even in the small ways like that you've mentioned that spark joy, the more we live and we discover, everybody's purpose might be the same to experience life, but what makes us experience life is different. And that's what we have to figure out and then go do the things, because that's what we're here for.
Hmm.
So, I'm proud of being an 8. I'm a challenger, but to me, in a healthy way. And I love to lead, and I love to spread messages about things I'm passionate about. Of course, the Enneagram is one of them. And the
Yeah.
7 wing leads me to have a Instagram live interview series, right?
Right. This is
So,
fun. And that's what you want
yeah,
to do. That's the thing.
yes.
Yeah, that's
So,
awesome.
so thank you so much for being on today. It's really nice to meet you. If this pandemic ever chills out and I get to Dallas again anytime soon, I'd love to meet you in person. I'm glad we have a
Yeah.
wonderful mutual friend,
Yeah.
and Carissa. Hi, Carissa.
Well, we're neighbors,
And
so she's part of my
That's
joy.
awesome.
She's part of what brings me
She,
joy. Seeing her at least once a
she's
week.
awesome.
Yeah, she's
That's
amazing.
right. And she's an amazing person. And that's the other thing. Surround yourself with the energy that you want to feel, right? And I wish you well in your work. It's important work. It's really important to hold space and carry the vision for these teachers and these school professionals right now. And so I thank you for that, because that's really good and decent work that we need. And being a 7 is going to add so much value to doing that. So it's
Yeah,
great to meet
definitely.
you.
Thank you. Yeah, and shout out to all the educators out there. It's gonna be
That's
okay.
right.
We're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't give
All
up.
right. Well, thank you, Lauren. And I will post this soon. And I so appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thanks so much. This is so fun. I really appreciate you doing this for all of us moms. It's been so fun to
Oh,
watch. So thank you for doing this for everyone.
absolutely. You bet. All right. Take
Okay, talk
care.
soon.
All
Bye.
right. Talk to you soon. Bye. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. What a wonderful interview with Lauren Hurt Ashwin, who is a 7 who uses both wings. On Friday, I haven't posted the preview yet, but I have a wonderful guest, and she's also one of my best friends, Rachel DeRochers. She is also a 7. So 3 7s this week. She's got a strong 8 wing. We're going to find out if she has a 6 wing too. And so join me on Friday at 9 a.m. for my interview with Rachel. And again, a special thank you to Kelly Baldessari Media. Kelly is a graphic designer, photographer, and videographer. If you comment and share this interview after you watch it, you will be entered into a drawing which will happen on Friday afternoon, to get a free logo. If you like my logo and my branding, then you definitely want to enter this if you're starting your own business or even thinking about starting your own business. The first step is to get that image in your head for your vision. So again, that's Kelly Baldessari Media. Give her a follow. She's here to assist your brand and expand its power platform wide. Thanks again for joining me. I will see you Friday morning. Bye.